Hello, my name is Nikola Krcic, and you're listening to Catholic versus Catholic.
Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, if you would, please. Who you are, what you believe, and how you came to believe what you believe.
I grew up a Catholic and didn't know nothing even about it. So it was weird how my journey was. God led me away from the church to bring me back, because now I'm back by choice, knowing what the church teaches and absolutely loving it and choosing to be a Catholic over just I inherited it from my family, so it was an amazing journey. But the hardest thing for me lately is I'm trying to just find out how to live in this world and not be of it. That's really hard to do, because all I think of is heaven and God, and I can't wait to see him as he is. I cannot wait for this to be over with, and it could get discouraging sometimes, because the two reasons is, one is I don't know exactly what he has for me to do, and I ask him that every day. I wish I just knew, but I do trust him, so it's okay. Even if I die not knowing, well then, it's okay. I'm coming to that, but I just wish I knew. And the other is with my wife's family. There's a lot of them that are just agnostic or atheists. And so I'll try to have a conversation with them sometimes, and it kind of just fails and flops. And then I'm like, okay, this was pointless. So,
Yeah, that's tough. So what is your ethnic background, if you don't mind my asking?
Yeah, so I was born here, but I'm Albanian, and my family was born over there. My two sisters and my brother were born over there. They came here, and then me and my other sister were born here in America.
So is it an Orthodox country or a Muslim country or what?
After the war, it became a Muslim country. Now Albanians in Albania are 70-something% Muslim by force, though. But we were originally a Christian country. And it's cool. We have this hero that we grew up hearing about, and I didn't know much, Krcic Castrioti. And for whatever reason, he was shipped to a Muslim country and grew up there. And the Sultan made him because he was a big, strong guy or something. They made him a leader of the army or whatever. And then he ended up finding out exactly like who he is, why, where, and something called him to go back and fight for Christianity. And he gathered an army, and he conquered a bunch of the Turks and and this was in the 1400s, right before the Crusades, to where when you look in history, the Pope was reaching out to him and then I think the Pope ended up dying, or Krcic ended up dying, and then after that the Crusades came, and then that was it for him. So he's kind of like a underdog hero, a unnoticed, just before, because he conquered so many, he saved so many cities, and I'm forgetting specifically which countries, but his story is like really amazing. After I looked into it, I was like, okay, now I know why they look at him as a hero,
And Mother Teresa was Albanian, no?
Yes, she was Albanian. She's also a big thing. We always have the statues at our churches and at our Krcic Castrioti and Mother Teresa they definitely, she's a big thing for us, and she was, yeah.
She's big for everyone, man. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, she is. She is.
Christopher Hitchens didn't like her too much, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, isn't it funny how much hate these atheists that say there's no God? What are they so mad at him for then? If you don't exist, you can like clearly see that they're so mad at him and they hate him. It's like if something don't exist, how could you hate him so much?
So who in your family is the most devout Catholic other than you yourself? Like your grandparents or who?
I mean, now it's me, and for the last year it's been me. But before, no, my dad passed away when I was 7 years old. So I grew up without a dad, and then my mom she was only 32 years old when he died. So she was just like a depressed woman, so it's like I didn't learn nothing from, no family or I had to learn everything on my own almost, because also what she actually knew was only the Albanian ways, and we're in America, and everything she tried to teach me, I'm like, that don't even make sense here. Like, all her goals, it was just so different. So everything I learned, it was kind of like on my own, slowly and whatever. But she would take us to church on Christmas and Easter, and she would say, it's good to go to church, and that was it. And that's all she knew. So I do appreciate that she did. At least I knew I was Catholic, and at least we went to those couple times a year, and that was it. But I didn't know no more. The bad thing was, in our Albanian church back then when I was young, we had a priest that thought God was Albanian. So the time he would take to preach, he would literally, all he said, Albanian, you guys, we must stick together. You must marry your own kind. You must this, you must, that's all he cared about. So I got no truth of God, even growing up in Catholicism. I believe that's why the Lord brought me out to learn. Because what brought me out was I heard the Protestant message, and I fell in love with it, because I had this experience that, again, maybe I'll share one day, but I had this experience that it was unbelievable, right? Then I said, okay, I'm Lord, I'll do whatever you want me to. That's it. I'm going to do whatever you want me to. So then I started hearing the Protestant message, and what comes with the Protestant message is the attack on the Catholic Church. Right. So I started adopting that really quick, and then being like, oh, it's a cult. Oh, look at all this. That. Yeah, look, it says, the Bible says, call no man your father, and the priests are walking. They want to be called father, and all of that. Right. Until I learned what the Catholic Church really teaches, and then I started falling in love with it. And he led me right back to the church. It was amazing. I listen to Catholic Answers a lot. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah.
Do you agree with most of everything of what they share?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so do I.
I don't 100% trust anyone, but I mean, I trust the church. The church is one with Jesus Christ, so it's protected from teaching error concerning faith and morals. So I have complete trust in the church, but the people in the church, I take everything they say with a grain of salt until I can check it against the infallible teachings of the church. But we have so much freedom in the church that I don't lay awake at night worrying about if I listen to someone and I got some wrong information. I'm really not worried, because I see the church like a mother, and she tells me what's essential for my salvation, and for the rest, I don't need to worry. There's a teaching from the Second Vatican Council. It's in essentials unity, but in non-essentials a healthy and wholesome diversity, and in all things charity. So that's sort of the approach I take with Catholic education in the media. It's like I just take everything with a grain of salt. But it's we can relax and we can take the information. And Catholic Answers, obviously I disagree with them on some things. Like, I'm a young earth creationist, and a lot of the people there are not. I've never heard a young earth creationist on Catholic Answers. But there's no explicit dogma that says that evolution is false and that young earth creationism is the case. So I'm not going to beat someone over the head with it. You know what I mean? It's just my opinion for now. And
exactly.
So everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. And
the church, it gives us that freedom, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Which is actually, I see the blessings in that now, because, let's say the Catholic kid growing up becomes a scientist. He has room to still come in the church and believe what he believes and have his job, So that's what I've noticed now, because I also am a younger creationist believer, and all the evidence says, man, that this world is only thousands of years old, and that Noah's flood was real. And, you could dig anywhere and find fossils. It's like, what's the reason of that? Because this world was all underwater, So I do believe that as well, but I realize what we're up against. We're up against mainstream science, and the moment you try to go up against them, you're going to lose. You get laughed at, you get ridiculed, you get whatever. So I actually enjoy that they're accepting both views for now, because I had a moment where I was trying to fight against it, and nobody would take me serious then, really.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
But it's okay,
Yeah.
No big deal. But I had a few questions, really quickly,
sure,
if you don't mind. Okay, and these are all about the faith and the church, and I had wrote down a few questions. I'm like, whenever I'm talking to someone, let's say that knows anything about the church, these are questions I would ask and stuff. So I wrote them down. But a few is like, how do we reconcile when Peter did not accept worship? is it true that maybe we should not bow down to the statue of Mary? Are we crossing the line? Because when I'm in church and I'm on my knees, I'm praying to God, and then I pray the Hail Mary, and I love it and believe it, But then I hear the Bible story, for example, Peter didn't accept worship. The guy went on his knees, and Peter picked him up and said, no, that worship only belongs to God. How would you reconcile that?
I would just ask what the church teaches. What does the church teach today? Does the church allow us to give hyperdulia to Mary and dulia to the saints? And what are the limits of that? What are the limits of the expression of our worship? Because we do worship Mary and the saints, but the word worship is technically different and distinct from adoration, the adoration that's due to God alone. So we have these three Latin words, latria, which is adoration, which is due to God alone, dulia, which is worship, strictly speaking, which means we see the worth of and we venerate, and that's due to the saints. And then Mary is in a special class where she gets hyperdulia, because it's a type of veneration and worship which is above all of the other saints, because she is, in a way, she's entered into the hypostatic union of the God-man Jesus Christ, where God became man. There's a hypostatic union between the human and divine natures. Mary somehow participates in that in a very mysterious way. So she is in a class of her own when it comes to worship.
Amen.
Now, we do shy away from the word worship because in Protestant circles, the word worship is synonymous with adoration, which is due to God alone. So there's some confusion there. And we need to be very cautious, especially if we're talking with someone that doesn't understand the distinctions that we're making. We need to be very cautious about that. But you and I can pray to the saints, and we can pray on bended knee, and we're not offending God. We know that. Why? We know it on the authority of the Holy Roman Catholic Church, which is one with Jesus Christ. They are one flesh. It is the mystical bride of Jesus Christ. So we have nothing to worry about.
Because it's through him, with him, and in him. That's why.
Exactly.
Yep. And I love how they say that at the beginning of Mass. It's like, through him, it's a reminder of what we're all here for. What is this all about? What is the church all about? It's through him, with him, and in him. And I absolutely love that. It's always a reminder of everything. But do you think because every time we picture the apostles going around, for some reason we always picture them, they were going around preaching, right? Preaching. Do you think the apostles said Mass as they were going out at that time? Do you believe the apostles went around and did similar to what the Mass we have today, like whether if it was outside or inside, but they did, right?
Yeah, the essentials of the Mass are very, very few. So it would have been more simple, maybe gathering in someone's home or outdoors, like you said. And that essential component is that bread that's made of wheat and that wine that's made out of grapes. And then the words uttered by the priest, this is my body, this is my blood. So that's it. It's very simple. The essential components are there. So I believe that it's an essential, ongoing, daily thing that we cannot live without. Just like we cannot live without the religious praying for us, we cannot live without the Eucharist. There are many things in Catholicism that we look down our nose at if we're not Catholic, but without which the very world itself could not be sustained. So this is the mystical Catholic way of looking at prayer and the sacraments. And if you read the lives of the saints, you'll see this emphasized time and time again. It's a mystical reality that we cannot survive without the Eucharist, even if we're not Catholic, because Christ is everything.
What do you like most about the seat of a contest position?
I like their enthusiasm. I like that they are in love with tradition. I don't like that they use private judgment to decide which parts of tradition they're going to cling to. But
Right. Isn't it true? Wouldn't you say their position is defeated?
Yeah.
Because Jesus said the gates of hell will not prevail against the church.
Exactly.
And their position is that the gates of hell did prevail against the church, that they had to pull out of the church and away from the Eucharist within the church. Isn't that?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't it end right there, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have a baseless position because the church has authority, infallibility, and indefectibility. So if they're missing that one attribute of indefectibility and the church has defected, it's not the real Catholic Church. So if I were them, I would just abandon Jesus Christ and go back to a generic monotheism, but they want to have their cake and eat it too. So it's a completely absurd position. And I really don't have much respect for the philosophy. Of course, I respect the human being beings who are led astray by Satan and his minions, and they're believing a bunch of lies. But there's a lot of good stuff in sedevacantism too, obviously, because every truth is Catholic truth. Just like the Protestants, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of Catholic truth in Protestantism. But it's not the sort of thing that we can encourage because it's full of lies, it's full of errors. So we can't encourage the lies and the errors.
Yeah, they're missing a whole bunch.
Yeah, they're missing a whole bunch of stuff. So.
Yeah, I called and spoke once with one of the guys there. He answered at the Vatican Catholic, the Diamond Brothers. And the whole problem is the authority, I guess. And they enjoy their authority right now and not having to give authority to the Pope. But that's one of the devil's tricks, I guess. But I've heard a few of his debates. What he does is Pope this and Pope that and Pope this. He said this, but he did that, and then he starts pulling up all the history on proving that the popes were sinners, and that's all he's proving, right? And then I'm like, okay, it's kind of like saying Peter denied Jesus once, Peter denied Jesus twice, Peter denied Jesus 3 times. So how could you follow that? It's like, that's all his arguments are the whole time. He's missing the whole purpose, I believe. He's blinded by all these facts of what they said and did and said and did. And it's like, yes, you forgot we're all sinners. You know, I don't get it. But yeah, I feel like all he did was, it's like, if you look in the law of a police officer, when he becomes a police officer, I'm sure it says on there, I will be honest as a police officer and serve. And then when you see a police officer, you catch him, he wasn't honest, you can't say he's not a police officer. Now I'm not going to obey him when he tries to pull me over. You can't do that. He's still a police officer, you know? And that's what they're trying to take away from the Pope. See, he said this, so he's not a Pope. Well, you know what? Ask anybody who the Pope is. They'll tell you it's Francis. So I don't know what you see, you know. But
what do you think about the alleged apparitions at Medjugorje? What's your opinion on that?
Okay, the few that I know of, they seem special and they seem something, but then I heard that they're turning out not to be true or not accepted.
Yeah, I'm very cautious about Medjugorje, but I'm a big fan of some of the approved ones like Lourdes and Fatima and Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Those are my 2 favorite, I would say. Guadalupe and Fatima are amazing. They really are. And I don't know, it's something special, I guess, about being able to believe when we don't see, you know. There is, and I guess people can believe something that's not true too, but when you believe something and it is true, that it's really special. I don't know how to explain it, you know. I don't know. I could go to mass and confession, I'll cry after confession, and I'm like, why am I crying? Well, I guess because I feel the Lord's grace for real. I feel that he wiped away my sins for real. You know what I mean? It's because it's real. That's why I'm crying. But it's like, you know, and then I try to share that, and it's kind of lame then when I try to share that with someone that really, like, let's say they don't believe, or they'll just accuse me of saying, you know, well, you just feel that, but, you know, but you don't know if it's true or whatever. So, but since God brought me back to the church, I've been doing a lot of crying, so I don't know. You actually pulled out the word. I never knew the word. What was it? When you feel all the Lord's graces and you know they're real and you feel them inside.
Consolation.
Yes, consolation. That's what. The moment you said that word, and I never heard it before, and you defined it, I said, I am full of consolation. That's all. And this whole year it's been like that, and it's just amazing. So I'm impatient about wanting to know what the Lord wants me to do for him so I can do it. That's all I've been impatient about. Other than that, it's been wonderful. And I keep having to remind myself that just it's okay, you know, and as long as, and I do things for the Lord, I love it, but it's like I just want to do more. I just want to do more. And I wish I knew what. And my dream would be to live for him, to get paid enough money to live, just to eat and pay my house bill. That's like my dream. Like, I can care less about money. It's like, Lord, let me live and work for you. So I have a roof and food, and that's it. That would be my dream. But
yeah, just keep praying, and frequenting the sacraments worthily, and everything will come. So it's only been 1 year since you're really on fire for Catholic faith?
yeah, because when I got pulled out as a Protestant, when I heard that was about 2 years ago, I was a Protestant for maybe 9 months, and then he pulled me right back to the church. So I've been a Catholic again for a year, and I've been on fire the whole year. I am keeping a balance. I keep finding something to do for him all the time. I'll go to the Catholic store and get these cheap dollar rosaries, the plastic ones, about 10 of them. I go get them blessed, and then I go around and I'll pass them out to people, like, or any bums I see or anything, and I say, this is your ticket, or just pray. Have this remind you to pray. God could lead us out of anything, and I'll do stuff like that, or, but I enjoy stuff like that, but I was like, I just wish I knew what he wants me to do so I can do it confidently. And I have a wife and child, and I love them, to death. Like, I would die for them and whatever. And it's like this love that God gave me, that I felt in my soul, and he filled my heart. I can't explain it to you. It was times 100 of anything I felt. Any time I would try to mention his name for those 2 weeks, I would bust out in tears. And it took me a whole minute one day to say the Almighty. You know that? I swear, a whole minute. I was like, the you know what I mean?
Wow.
So whatever he did for me, whatever happened then, that was then when I said, I want to follow you, Lord. And then the devil attacked me for 3 days. I said, plastic is killing me. I could feel, because I felt this choking in my throat. So I was grabbing all the plastic, throwing it out. And then the next one was like, when I would go outside, there was a certain bug in the trees that was after me, right? And I would hear it click and tick and click and tick, and it was after me, So I would stay away from the trees, and okay. And then the third day was, I decided to grab the Bible and sleep with the Bible those couple nights. And then I woke up on the third day, and I went outside, and my brother started talking to me. And I looked, and I removed my hand off the Bible, and I seen my fingertips red as if the Bible was bleeding. And then that was then when I was like, okay. I said, okay, all right, this ain't real. All of this ain't real. I said, I know what's going on here. I said, the devil can't stand that I chose the Lord. He hates it. He wants me back. I was like, okay. And then everything went away then, and it was cool. So, but I definitely do prayer, and I'm definitely trying to live by example. I think that's one that I'm realizing lately that is huge. When we live by example, when we can hug and kiss family members with smiles on our face, and we are representing the Lord in that way and doing unselfish things, and that's very attractive. And then the moment they say, what's been up with Nick lately? He's so sweet, so giving. Oh, he's been going to church, and he's been following the Lord, and that's why. And then I guess that could have a big impact with family members, I think. But yeah, but again, it's all a mystery, man. That's the stuff I can't wait to understand. The mysterious, everything is God. I look up at the stars and the sun, and I'm like, I just can't wait, Lord, till I understand everything and know you as you are, and just, yeah. So
Amazing. So, you know how it goes. At the end of my interviews, I always ask the guest to give the closing thought, just a little positive message for the listener. Just to wrap up, what do you think you might be able to say to anyone that's out there listening now?
I advise everyone to just seek the truth, because the truth is the Lord. So if you seek truth unbiasedly and with all your heart, you'll find the Lord will be there. So seek truth and seek love, and the Lord will be there waiting for you. So he is a mystery, so accept mysteries and accept the things you can't see, but at the end we will all see him. So God bless.
If you like your worldview, if you think it's swell, if you got some questions, ask me and I'll tell. All you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask.